Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about Bella Hadid, if you could not tell by the title. And basically we're just going to kind of talk about Bella Hadid and some of her controversies and why some people might have a weird feeling about her, although she, from the naked eye, seems pretty unproblematic. But before you do get into this video, please go ahead and like it. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Turn on the post notifications so that you're notified of the next time that I post a video. And follow me on Twitter. I follow back, and the Twitter will be in the description below. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so first let's start off with a little background. Isabella Hadid, that's her real name, Isabella, was born on October 9th, 1996 to very wealthy parents. Bella's mother was a supermodel, and her father, well, her mother Yolanda, and then her father Mohammed Hadid is, I believe, an architect, an architectural designer, but the dude is loaded. And she grew up with her older sister Gigi Hadid, which is another super top model right now, and then her younger brother Anwar. So she is the middle child of three, even though her father does have two other children from a different marriage. And another thing to note is that Gigi and Bella, they grew up in an $85 million mansion in Southern California. This place is huge, and this is where they grew up. So you can see that they weren't just wealthy white girls from SoCal. They were loaded rich, okay? Like, these girls were rich. And their mother ended up being on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. By the time that Yolanda Hadid was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, her kids were teenagers, and she was no longer with Mohammed Hadid. They had been divorced for some time, and she was actually married to David Foster, who is a world-renowned, super renowned musician. He's made songs for Whitney Houston and all of these huge legends, and Bella and Gigi have even talked about like meeting all of these huge legends growing up as David Foster's stepdaughters. So that's just one thing to note, is that they grew up with the best of the best, with the silver spoon in their mouth, and they grew up around a lot of rich people and a lot of celebrities. However, according to them and according to a lot of what we've seen, they grew up pretty normally for the circumstances. You know, they still went to regular school, they still did sports, they still, you know, did the regular rich girl thing. So they didn't necessarily grow up in the limelight, but when Yolanda started Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, they were then on television, but they weren't featured as much. You know, they kind of had their own lives, so they weren't super featured on the show. But as their career started to take off in modeling, they were featured more and more. And one thing that I remember about watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because of course I was watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills at like 12 years old, and I remember when Yolanda was on the show, and I remember watching her daughters and thinking like, wow, they're so pretty, this, that, and the other. And I do remember at some point Bella actually got a DUI, and it was like on the show. I believe she was under the influence of like either drugs or alcohol, but she definitely got in trouble with the law at a pretty young age. She was definitely under the drinking age, and I'm pretty sure she was under the age of 18 at the time. So I do remember that specifically about Bella. But I actually remember personally starting to follow Gigi before I followed Bella, just because I remember she was running in the same circle as like Kendall Jenner. These girls are like in that circle with Kendall Jenner, Hailey Bieber, you know, all of those like socialites and starlets that we know today. And so I started following Gigi because of Kendall and like all of them, and then I started to follow Bella because of Gigi. So they really kind of blew up in the media and on social media, not only because of their mothers presence on The Real Housewives, but also like they're gorgeous girls. They're great for modeling. You know, their mother was a model, but also I think because of their social status and because of who they were connected with. She's also been linked to The Weeknd. Bella and The Weeknd started dating in 2015. She was actually on the cover of one of his albums, and they've been dating. They were dating like on and off. I'm pretty sure that they're done like officially because she's in a relationship with someone else. But they were on and off for like 5 years and very, very linked together. They went to the Met Ball together. So they became kind of one of the it couples of Hollywood. And I think that that also boosted her fame and notoriety. In recent years, Bella has really rose to supermodel status in her own right. You can tell, I mean, she's a gorgeous, gorgeous woman. And I personally think that she's a great model. I think that her walk, just the way that she presents herself, the way that she photographs, just everything, her look, her whole vibe is super cool and super interesting. And I think that other people feel the same way. And so even though she has all of these connections that usually people would kind of not like, I know that it's a huge criticism for Kendall Jenner that she has all of these connections and they feel like it's nepotism, but I see less of those criticisms and those critiques when it comes to Bella Hadid. And I think because her work is a little more like objectively great. And personally, again, I think that she's just a great model. So you can't really argue with the material that she gives. And not to say that Kendall Jenner is a bad model, because in my opinion, I think that she's also a good model. But with Bella Hadid, it's kind of clear. And I think that that also has to do with the fact that, again, her mother was a model, her sister is a model. So she's grown up around this. And I think that she's probably had a lot of training and knows how to work with photography and knows how to walk well because of how she grew up. I think that people also really love her aesthetic just in life. She gives very much 90s supermodel vibes, and I think that a lot of people really like that. She has a very classic type of model, just whole aura to her, that I think that in the today's age of, you know, a lot of Instagram models or influencers or people who I think look different from the models of the 90s. I think that Bella is very reminiscent of those models from the 90s. And I think that a lot of people appreciate that. And honestly, in my opinion, I think a lot of snobby people appreciate that because they would like people to stay the same and not for the industry to evolve in any way to make room for any other types of people. But that's another story for another time, and that has nothing to do with Bella. Bella is just existing. But I did want to make that point that I think that a lot of people kind of like that she has a nostalgic 90s vibe to her. So let's start getting into the critiques of Bella, because there are some, and I think that some are a little more, I say that they're petty, but I also think that they are kind of turnoffs for people. And then others are very important, but never really spoken about. So we're going to start off with Bella's relatability. Bella Hadid is not as relatable of a person as I think that she believes that she is. Again, like I said earlier, and like I wanted to emphasize because of this point that I'm making now, Bella Hadid grew up in an $85 million mansion. The girl is not relatable to everybody else. And although I don't think that she owes anyone relatability, and I don't think that she owes anyone an apology for growing up the way that she did, because that is ludicrous in my personal opinion. The girl just grew up that way, and if you could grow up that way, you would. So I don't like when people almost try to guilt trip others into feeling bad for how they grew up, because she did nothing for it either way. She didn't do anything bad for it. She didn't do anything good for it. She literally is just existing, but that's neither here nor there. But I think that Bella really wants to present herself as someone who is more relatable to the general public than she really is. And sometimes it can come off as being a little out of touch, like more out of touch than in touch. And she ends up kind of becoming a meme. So, one example is when she was doing like the sneaker interview type thing, which I don't even know why they were doing this with a white girl model from LA. Doesn't make any sense to me why they would be like, oh yeah, she's like a total sneakerhead. Like, that's very much urban culture that she's not actually ever going to be a part of, because she just literally can't be a part of it, just like I can't be a part of like Malibu Barbie culture. That's just not how it works. But anyways, she was doing this whole like sneakerhead interview thing, and she said this, and it became quite a meme, and she was made fun of a lot on the internet, and I think it's because of how out of touch she sounded. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the clip. You've probably seen it before, but if you haven't, here it is.
So if you're going to have a dope shoe that both guys and girls can wear, I mean, come on. Matching shoes, that's dope.
What are some of your sneaker turnoffs though?
You know what? I'm cool with it, and I don't mind dirty sneakers, but they better be fresh, you know? If Homeboy's coming through with these, it's quiet. Yeah, no, it's quiet for him. But like if he comes through in like these, you got some Air Maxes out here, you got some Jordans, Homeboy's gonna like get it.
This clip reminds me of the conversation that's kind of being had now about how there are a lot of non-black people who will use AAVE completely incorrectly and just completely butcher the whole usage of it. And it sounds just so off that it's cringy. And that is exactly what Bella did in that video. And although I don't think that it's like anything hateful or anything like that, that's not what I'm trying to say. What I am trying to say is that sometimes when she's trying to come off as someone who is relatable, it falls very flat. And I think that there are people who dislike that. I think that there are people who dislike the idea of rich people trying to relate to the normal everyday person, because it's like, you did all this to be rich, and now you want to act like you can relate to us. You've done everything in your power to not relate to me, just so that you can try to relate to me now. It just kind of doesn't make sense. And again, I know that Bella was put in a position where she was rich from birth, but still, you know, she's making all of these millions of dollars, but she's trying to act like she uses any of these slang terms in real life, or that she would ever use these terms, or like she would ever speak like this. We know that you don't speak like that. It's okay. And like, it just was really weird. Like, I remember watching that video and cringing. Mind you, I liked her, and I was like, this is just kind of a turn off, because it's like, you don't have to pretend to be something you're not just so that you can relate to people and then fall flat, because you can't relate to anyone when you speak like that, because nobody speaks like that. So anyways, I have another clip where, again, I feel like Bella was kind of trying to come off as a little relatable, and I think fell flat. It was a recent interview that she did with Vogue, where she was going through some looks in her life, and she was talking about one specific look, and she was talking about how she didn't grow up having Louboutins. So let's just roll that clip.
I never growing up had anything designer. You know, my mom wouldn't let me. I think I got my first pair of Louboutins when I graduated high school. It makes me emotional, actually, because I'm like so happy in this picture, like for the first time. And I think like my whole adult life, I feel just at ease, like happy. I'm able to work. I feel good about myself. I felt beautiful. And compared to the girl that I see like in the beginning, she was so sad, and she is so content and happy.
Now again, this clip just fell flat, and I don't think that it did what she was intending it to do. Honestly, when I rewatching that clip, the few times that I have, I don't really understand why she even said that. I feel like that was weird to like say while she was talking about like feeling just happy. I'm like, you feel happy because you're in designer clothes. Like, I didn't get that point. But Bella, you grew up in an $85 million mansion. You were not walking around in Walmart jeans, love. Like, you cannot convince me that the girl didn't have designer things. And what is designer to her? Like, I mean, goodness gracious, like, for some people, Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein are designer. And I know for a fact she had that stuff. Like, you can't convince me otherwise. So for her to try to make it seem like, oh, I didn't have designer things because my mom wanted me to be humble in your $1 million house, having Whitney Houston at your house, like, you can't convince me that that's a thing. And like, I don't know, I just think that sometimes rich people can be so self-aware that they're too self-aware and then try to be relatable, and it just doesn't work, because when you say stuff like that, it's just like, love, we know, we see who you are, like, we know your background. Google is free. Your parents' names are blue on Wikipedia. Like, we know what's up. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to put on a facade. Nobody is blaming you for being rich. I think a lot of people, the whole eat the rich movement or whatever, nobody's blaming you for being rich. But when you say stuff like that, it makes people not like you because you're rich, because you're so out of touch sometimes. I don't think that she's like completely out of touch or just completely just doesn't care, but sometimes when she says stuff like that, it's just like, okay. But anyways, moving on to the next thing. Bella's plastic surgery. Now, I've said this before, I will say it again. I am never going to tell someone who has said themselves that they have not had plastic surgery. I will never look them in the eye and be like, yes, you did. I am not their doctor. I don't have their medical records. I don't know what the girl got. And quite frankly, I feel like in a lot of ways it can be inappropriate to even ask people like if they've had plastic surgery or things like that, just because it's a very sensitive subject. And I think that a lot of times plastic surgery does stem from just complete insecurity. And so I don't think that it's right for people to just try to pry and try to say, oh, you don't look like that naturally. It's like, I don't know. It irks me. It gives me the ick. So there's that. But I'm including this conversation in this video because it's a big conversation around Bella, is that a lot of people claim that she's had plastic surgery. So we have two pictures here of Bella. One on the left is when she was younger. One on the right is when she was older and more in the fashion industry. And, she does look different. A lot of people point out that, like, her nose is different, or this is different, or that is different. So, yeah, I'm just kind of showing you a side-by-side. And then here, I think, is an even more stark difference. And then the picture on the right is Bella in recent years, like, more recent than the last kind of after, quote-unquote, after picture that I showed. And then the left picture, again, is from probably around the same time as the earlier side-by-side. And to me, the difference in these two pictures is definitely more clear. And a lot of people have claimed that she's gotten a nose job, she's gotten this job, she's gotten that done to look as different as she has. What I personally have noticed is that she's thinner in the face. And so that might have something to do with that. Again, a lot of people have been claiming that she's gotten a nose job. Like, that's the main thing that people say. But Bella Hadid herself has actually said that she hasn't had any plastic surgery. So I'm going to go ahead and just read you that quote that she said, kind of addressing the plastic surgery rumors. So Bella said, people think I got all this surgery or did this or that. And you know what? We can do a scan of my face, darling. I'm scared of putting fillers into my lips. I wouldn't want to mess up my face, she told InStyle about staying natural in an interview. So they're basically Bella saying, look, I'm staying natural. This is how I look, this, that, and the other. And a lot of people are saying that she's lying. Now, if she's lying about her plastic surgery just straight up lying. I believe that that's wrong. I don't think that she needs to answer these types of questions. In my personal opinion, I think it's honestly rude for people to ask, like, oh, have you gotten work done? Have you gotten this done? Have you gotten that done? I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of like a weird question. I know a lot of like people would also like to know, so there's that, but I don't know. I just feel like if you don't want to answer the question, don't answer the question, but don't lie about it. So if she has lied about it, then I think that that's a valid criticism, especially because she's a model. And so, like, your whole face, like, it's kind of like, oh, you can just buy this career. You can change your face to make yourself look like a model and then be a model. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But I don't feel like it's the biggest deal, just because I think that a lot of people are very insecure. And so they get these things, they get plastic surgery, they get all of this so that they look good. And then the same people that will criticize them for looking one way, they change how they look, and then they get criticized for getting the plastic surgery, or for not, being super open about the plastic surgery and having to answer to complete strangers who aren't living in their bodies, don't have their face, and they're not owed any explanation whatsoever. Now they have to answer to all of these complete and utter strangers. So there's that. So I just feel like for Bella and the plastic surgery, I don't know, it just kind of is what it is. If she ever confirms that she's had plastic surgery, then I do acknowledge that she looks different, but I'm not going to sit up here and say that she's for sure, for a fact, had plastic surgery, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not Bella. I don't know. Now, what I think is also interesting about the plastic surgery allegations, that I think goes a little deeper and I think that is a little more controversial, is the fact that Bella looks a lot like supermodel Carla Bruni. Carla Bruni was a model in the 90s, which again, that whole 90s aesthetic that Bella has. And if you see these side-by-side pictures, I mean, they look very, very similar. And a lot of people are basically saying that Bella got plastic surgery to look like Carla Bruni. Now, I don't know if she's had plastic surgery or not. I don't know what she did to her face. If she just lost weight, people sometimes they lose weight and they look different in the face and their bone structure is more prominent, and that's a thing. Or whatever she did is what she did. To look different, whatever she did is what she did. Maybe she just did her makeup better. I don't know. But if she did get plastic surgery to look like Carla Bruni, I feel like that's kind of weird. Like, I'm going to be completely honest, that's where I'd be like, okay, like, that's just weird. Because one, you're taking someone else's face, like, that alone is weird. And two, you're not really establishing yourself as a model in your own right, but rather you're taking someone else's look. And I don't really like that, especially because being a model is kind of about looking unique. And it's just, I don't know, that's just weird to me that, like, you want to be a supermodel so bad that you just pay to look like another supermodel, and then you get everything you want. Like, that's just weird. But I don't know if she did that or not, so I can't say that for a fact, and I can't just, like, completely make that allegation. So it is what it is, but that is something that people have been saying about her. Now let's get into something that I think isn't spoken about Bella, and in my opinion is the most important things that people should know about her. And I'm just going to preface this part by saying that I'm not one of those people that believes that people can't change. I am not one of those people that believes that we need to cancel anybody for anything, even if those things include kind of racially motivated things. I think that people can grow and change, especially given how old they were. And I just think that people can change. So I'm just going to preface this part by saying that. However, I don't believe that we should just assume that people have changed just because of time. I think that that is kind of an ignorant way to look at things, especially given the fact that a lot of times people are like, they just have time to change and they just stop doing the same things in front of the public, but they might not acknowledge or address their mistakes, which is something that I think indicates change, is if you address your mistakes and at least apologize for them. But if you don't address them, that is a red flag for me. Again, that doesn't mean that you haven't changed, but that is a red flag. So I don't just assume that people have changed. I don't just assume those types of things. And I think in Bella Hadid's case, we shouldn't assume that she has changed. So internet sleuths got Bella, and basically they found some tweets from her that were, in my opinion, racist or racially ignorant, racially motivated. And they're from when she was definitely a teenager. So I'm just going to say that. She was about 16 in 2012, I believe. 15, 16 years old. But I'm going to go ahead and just put those tweets on the screen now so you can kind of see for yourself the things that she tweeted. Also, you will not be able to find these tweets on her actual Twitter because she deleted them and she doesn't have any tweets from, I believe, like before like 2018 or something like that. So she really scrubbed her Twitter clean of anything before that, and I think that that's for a reason. I feel like there's a reason why you would scrub all of your tweets. Like, it's one thing if you just delete these tweets that people pointed out, but like, what more was there for you to delete? You know what I'm saying? Like, what more was there for people to find out? So I'm just gonna go ahead and put the tweets on the screen now, and you can just kind of see for yourself. So, as you can see for yourself, Bella definitely said she liked to say a lot of things about black people and black men, which I think is interesting given the fact that she dated The Weeknd for so long. So, I don't know, that's just something to kind of note, I guess. But as you can see, she said the N-word and things like that. And this was all in 2012. All of these tweets were in 2012, but they were kind of spread out throughout 2012. But I'm just, again, curious as to what else she said, because I feel like there's more, but she deleted her tweets after she was called out for all of this. And also something to note is that she did not apologize and did not address these tweets like at all. She just simply deleted them from Twitter, which I think is very interesting given the fact that today it seems like Bella is one of those celebrities that tries to be kind of uber activist, uber aware, super SJW, and yet she can't even acknowledge her past. I think that a lot of people are very reasonable and they wouldn't hold something like this against her because of the fact that she was so young. Like I said, she was about 15, 16 years old at the time. So a lot of people give grace, I think, especially when people acknowledge their wrongs, show that they've grown. A lot of people feel like Bella is one of those people that's super socially aware, so I don't think that it would be hard for people to forgive her. Of course, there would be those people who don't forgive her, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's their choice to not forgive you. But I think for a lot of people, it would kind of be water under the bridge. But the fact that she didn't even acknowledge it and instead just deleted everything and kind of kept everything a secret is very suspicious, but also very telling as to how much she cares about holding herself actually accountable, in my opinion. Now, the next thing that I'm going to show you is actually something from 2018. At this point, Bella was 21 years old, and she was at Coachella, And her older sister from her father's, like, I think first marriage or a previous marriage, she was recording Bella, and they were all at Coachella, and they were watching Lil Wayne's set. And apparently during the set, of course Lil Wayne says the N-word. You can look up the lyrics of the song. He probably says the N-word a lot because, he uses the N-word. He's a rapper and he's black, so he can do that, whatever, right? But apparently and you can see the video, I'll show you the video, but during the video, you can see her say the N-word. Now, I'm not sure if she was just lip syncing it or she was just straight up singing it, but at the end of the day, she knew them lyrics and she was singing that song. And then you can see that she kind of stops singing when she sees that her sister has recorded her and is recording her. Now, one thing that I want to note about this situation before I actually show you this video is that it was kind of hard to find this video. Someone told me about it and I had to really look for it to find this video. I only saw 2 people post it, but I feel like it was probably posted a lot. But I think that Bella's team probably scrubbed it off of the internet the way that they did with the tweets. They kind of just scrubbed it off the internet and pretended like it didn't exist. But a lot of people were tweeting about it, and only 2 people actually had the video on Twitter. So here it is. Also, I don't think that you can find this on YouTube that well, because I tried to find it on YouTube. I really couldn't find it. But anyways, here is the video. So you can hear Wayne basically say my N-word, right? And then you can see her vibing, having a good old time, singing the song. And then when she kind of realizes that her sister is recording, she stops. Now, again, you can't really find this video on the internet as much as you can find other videos of other people saying the N-word. Why? Because I think Bella probably has a great PR team. And I think that a lot of these people that probably have done scandalous things and are seen as problematic, as unproblematic, they probably just have great PR teams, because in my opinion, no one's completely unproblematic. I think that a lot of the time, you can kind of tell who has a good heart and who is growing and changing and evolving and becoming a better person every day. That is how I view who is a good person and who is not. And so I think that no one is unproblematic. I think it's just about the way that people bounce back from what they do and how they learn and grow. And in my opinion, Bella not addressing any of the tweets that she made in 2012 is a red flag in and of itself. Her not apologizing, in my opinion, and just deleting all of the tweets means that, one, she knows that people are saying something about it, and 2, she doesn't care enough to address it. And that is something that turns me off and something that I don't really like. But again, I think that maybe she just doesn't want. Sometimes I think that people just don't want to address things because they don't want to make it bigger than what it is, and they can learn in silence. But I still think that it'd be better if she just addressed it and just apologized. And I feel that way about a few people. Does that mean that I think that they should be completely canceled? No. But I do think that there's something to be said about the fact that she said the N-word again in 2018. I think that right there says that she didn't really evolve. I think that right there is proof that she didn't apologize, not because she didn't want to bring attention to it, and she was just working on herself behind the scenes and still grew and changed, but she didn't make the best decision as far as how to approach the situation. That's something that I can understand, but for her to say it again, in my opinion, means that she wasn't really that sorry. It's just that simple. I don't think that she was sorry at all. And so she didn't apologize, not because she didn't want to acknowledge it, but because she's not sorry. Because if you're saying it in 2018, and in 2018, people were getting canceled left and right for the N-word. So she knew. She can't claim to be ignorant. Everybody knew what it was. And you're 21 years old. I know as a 21-year-old myself, you have absolutely no excuse at that point. You are super aware of it. You know what's going on. You see everyone else getting canceled. And she just didn't care. She decided to keep saying it. And you know what? At that point, okay, you're going to make that decision. Then you have to face whatever consequences come. Now, the thing is that not really any consequences came from that. Why? Well, because I believe, her team scrubbed these videos off of the internet. Because I just didn't see anything. Like, I barely saw anything about this. You would think that this would be a bigger thing than what it was. Bella Hadid is an A-list celebrity, in my opinion. And for her to just say the N-word in that video, and for it to be on, it's not like it's not on the internet. It was posted at some point. So the fact that, like, it was basically just scrubbed off of Twitter, of all places, Twitter that has the craziest, most insane videos, and that video is basically almost scrubbed off of Twitter, that speaks volumes to me. In my personal opinion, I feel like that says a lot, and I think that that was intentional, that her team probably did do something to make sure that that video was not seen by a lot of people. So, do I think that Bella Hadid is racist, or am I trying to say anything like that? I'm not necessarily trying to say anything like that because, like I've said in other videos, I don't believe that using the N-word in the context that she has used it means that she literally hates Black people. I don't believe that. Do I think that she respects Black people? Probably not. And that's a different subject, and that's a different topic, and maybe that could lead into some racism, but I don't think that it's like that blatant racism that people, I think, try to make it out to be. It might be something else. It has layers. It's more complicated than that, in my opinion. However, does that rub me the wrong way? Do those clips, do those tweets rub me the wrong way? And does her response rub me the wrong way? Absolutely, yes. I think that it's just very telling about her attitude towards the whole situation. And what bothers me even more, I think, is the fact that she seems to be so socially aware. You know, a lot of people look at her as like some sort of activist, like some sort of celebrity activist. She posts about social justice all the time. She posts about all of these things all the time. Yet, when it comes to her own shortcomings and her own downfall, she refuses to even acknowledge it. And that rubs me the wrong way. And, you know, for someone who speaks about all of these things and tries to make it seem like she's kind of like, I don't know, like just virtue signaling and just everything like that, for you to not say anything about what you have done in the past, that speaks volumes to me about, you know, what your activism really is. And in my opinion, it kind of seems a little performative, because if you're not willing to acknowledge what you have done, if you're not willing to acknowledge anything, when you've been called out, when people have asked you to apologize, when people have pointed out what you've done, if you're not willing to apologize, but you're willing to hold so many other people accountable, but you're willing to go and tell people this, that, and the fourth, you need to vote this way, and you need to do this, and you need to do that, and, you know, all of these just things that she's put on Instagram, it's like, come on, girl, like, do you really care about these issues, or are you just saving face and making a good PR move, which is to kind of go with the times right now? And I think the times right now is like everyone's trying to act as if they're an activist, and that's one reason why I could never be an activist, because I know that I make mistakes, and the last thing that I would want to do is to be held to this activism standard where now I have to kind of like walk perfectly almost. But I think that she's put herself in that position, and she also put herself in a position to be criticized when she used the words that she did, when she said the things that she did. Even when she tweeted those tweets, she was not that young. She was 15, 16. That's not super young. Do I still think that people should give her a little more grace because of how young she was? Yes, I do. But at the end of the day, you know, she knew right from wrong. She definitely knew not to say the N-word, and yet she said it anyway. So I feel like in Bella's case, it's kind of hard to really like her that much, or to really see her the same way that I saw her, which was just this cool, kind of 90s inspired model who was just doing her thing and, whatever, and just kind of seeing her as this pretty girl. But now, like, looking at her with all of these controversies, it makes me think that maybe she's not so nice, or she's not someone who really cares about the things that she posts about. And that definitely does rub me the wrong way. All in all, I think that Bella, she's gorgeous. She seems to be like, I don't know, she just seems to be decent. I think that in some ways I've seen growth from her, from that first interview that I showed where she was like, homeboy's gonna like get it, to now with the Vogue interview, even though she still said something that in my opinion kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and kind of, it was like weird. You can tell that at least she's not speaking the way that she was speaking before, but then again, that was for a Vogue interview, so I'm not sure. I think that she is just a rich girl who's kind of out of touch. I think that a lot of these people that we talk about and we look at their lives and we're like, oh, like, they grew up this way, they grew up that way. You can't be super surprised about what they do because of how out of touch these people grew up. Like, they grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth at all times. They grew up with like help. They grew up with like all these things. I was actually, this is a side note, but I was watching Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the current season, and they go on this trip, right, to Tahoe, and they get to the house and they're like, oh, do we have to carry our own luggage? And they were complaining about carrying their own bags. And I was like, these women are so out of touch. And it's just like certain things that like normal people don't even think twice about. It's like the money starts to make people a little worse. And that's just how I see it. It kind of makes people a little worse. Money, I think, does affect people in ways that makes them feel kind of entitled and makes them feel like they can kind of do whatever they want because they've always been above everyone else their entire lives. And how dare anyone criticize them? And I think in Bella's case, she kind of makes it seem like she didn't grow up like as wealthy as she did. Some things that she says, like when she was talking about the Louboutins and things like that, it's like, you grew up super wealthy. Like, don't try to hide it. Don't try to fake it. Everyone knows it. But I think in Bella's head, she's like, well, at least I'm not as bad as these people. Or at least I'm not like one of those rich Republicans. Like, no, I'm a rich Democrat. Like, I care about the little person because I'm a Democrat. And things like that. And it's like, no, Bella, like, that doesn't, like, it gives very much virtue signaling. It gives very much, like, you think that just because you post about something on Instagram, it makes you a better person, and it kind of doesn't. And especially given the fact that she has done things that a lot of people deem as being racist, or as at least being racially ignorant, and the fact that she hasn't addressed any of it, to me, it screams like she feels like she's kind of entitled to be able to just scrub it off of the internet and make it go away, and money will solve all of her problems and things like that. As far as like her plastic surgery, I think that, she has gotten plastic surgery. She at least shouldn't lie about it. I don't believe that people should just ask her questions all the time about her face. I think that is inappropriate. But if she has gotten plastic surgery and she lied about it, then I don't think that that's all okay. I don't think that that's right. Like, at least own up to it if you want to answer that question. But overall, I just think that Bella Hadid, I think that she appeals to a lot of people because it seems like she's just unproblematic and cool and like just a cool girl. But in my opinion, learning the things that I've learned about her, she kind of seems like just another rich girl who grew up with a lot of privilege. And because of that, she does things and says things that rubs people the wrong way. And I think that a lot of people, they might not know what I put in this video. They might not know those things about her, but they feel a certain way. But I've seen people say, like, I just have a bad feeling about her. But I think once you see what she's actually kind of done, you then start to realize that maybe your feeling is correct. Now, I'm not saying that we should cancel her, that she's the worst person in the world, or that she's even like super problematic. But I am saying that there are things about her that, you know, aren't the best. So that is it for this video. Please enjoy this obligatory picture of Justin Bieber as I close out. I know that this video was long and maybe I was long-winded, but oh well, you love to hear my voice. Thank you. No, but seriously, I know that this video is long, but I really just wanted to make the points that I made, and I hope that you did enjoy it. And I just again want to reiterate the fact that I'm not by any means trying to like cancel Bella or like, you know, start a hate train, but I'm simply pointing things out because I can and because I've noticed them, and especially concerning the racism. I really wanted to make sure that people knew that and are at least aware. If you continue to support Bella and you continue to like, you know, whatever, buy her magazines or whatever, however you can support a model, then I mean that's your decision. But I'm just trying to make people aware. That's really all that is. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. Go ahead and comment down below what you thought of this video, what you thought of the controversies, what you think of Bella in general. All of that, please comment that down below. And please subscribe to my channel, turn on the post notifications so that you're notified of the next time that I post a video, and follow me on Twitter. My Twitter will be in the description below. So yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!